with. Eventually, once you build a rapport, I mean, I'm the worst, mate. Honestly, but like when I was first in the locker rooms, I was still being me, and you know what that was like. I mean, I remember when I was at Morecambe, and I pissed off Paddy Knight the first time I met him and stuff, and I really let down Mike and Dave, the Pitbulls, who are another couple of guys that really went out for me and told people about me in my younger years, and that was me, not paying them back in good faith because I'd upset somebody that they knew, so I had to go out my way, and I did. I went out my way and said to Paddy, and it was at your show that I had to replace Jake the Snake and do some silly dive for £20. But
is that how much I paid you? 20 quid?
Yeah, sorry, mate.
You owe me 5 then. I overpaid you.
But I went straight up to Paddy and I go, I hope that wasn't. I'm the worst first impression with anybody. It's sometimes, and a lot of it's a mask. It's just me masking up, maybe deep down little insecurities of little man syndrome or something. But it's really, I'm the most boisterous guy there because I'm just so excited to have so much fun. But it doesn't settle well when you're in a new locker room, and you gotta curb that a lot of the time. And eventually, when you build a good rapport with them, though, you can go up to them and ask them for advice and everything like that. You can talk to them like, you or I, and just, the advice you can pick up from people, especially after you've performed, is just amazing because the level of knowledge that's backstage is just phenomenal, and you can just pick at it like a sponge. Like you can get to every place, and everyone's got different views on things. And as I say, as always, it's a subjective business, but you can listen to all of them, and you can take little things from each one and be like, right, I won't do that again, but I'll work that, maybe that, and whatnot. But, yeah.
There seems to be a different level of respect in the changing rooms over there than being in the UK. Yeah. Would you say so?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things I never knew anything about because I'd never seen it before. We don't get taught it. Putting your bag down in a dressing room. If you turn up to a new venue and you're a new guy at a new promotion and you just put your bag down, over here that's just, someone's bag's there. Over there, that's like, who are you putting your bag in such and such's changing spot, or, you know what I mean? And it's like, it was an eye-opener for me because I was like, whoa, just even putting your bag down, you can get heat for, or, anything. So it's just a case of, being aware of your surroundings, and I have terrible self-awareness, so I made a lot of mistakes. A lot. Mm. And was, rightfully punished for them. It's just that, those rules are slowly but surely going away, which I don't think is a good thing because people like me need to be reined in and, put in check so you respect this. I remember once that I went out and missed a meet and greet the next day, and Bobber just tore me a new one the next day. But he let me think about it all day, and then pulled me aside and sat me down and told me the ramifications of what I'd done. And it was it was a learning experience, but I was never late again for anything, because the ramifications of not meeting a meet and greet is people have paid money to see you. So if you're not there, they didn't get what they paid for. If you miss a interview, then or you're late for an interview, or doesn't record, Steve. The ramifications of it, the ramifications of it are that interview was used and set up by the promoter for you to advertise the show, and if you don't do that, then you've potentially lost the show money and the boys' money and the other wrestlers' money by getting paid. It's make or break sometimes on how many tickets we sell. And that's because of you and your laziness that we didn't get to do that. So really put things in perspective, and I'm happy I made the mistakes. I learned from every one of them, and I continue to do so, and I hope I make more so I can learn again. But it's something that's not really seen or done in the UK scene, and I know that angers a lot of the elders that are still working over here. And
I was going to say, it used to be. Yeah, absolutely used to be. I mean, I remember when I 16, 17, and Giant Haystacks in the changing rooms, and Skull Murphy, Danny Collins, Marty Jones, it sounds very much like what you're saying now. They were professional wrestlers. That's what they did, and they didn't have other jobs. They wasn't doing it for a bit of a laugh on the side. That was their job, and you know, we'd all be sat talking before their car arrived, but as soon as that car arrived with, you know, the World of Sport guys or things, you shut up and you just sat and listened to them.
I mean, I've had conversations with Frankie Sloan multiple times. I really angered him once. He told me when I used the F word, and I'm not talking about the swear word. I used the word fake once. But
right.
What we do is fake. And he really got upset with that, and he and that was a learning curve again. He really sat me down and said, listen, every broken bone, every time I go out there, that's not fake. Nothing. The fact I'm limping around like I am, it's not fake. And I learned from that. And I mean, when obviously only we're the ones talking now, when do you think that was lost in the changing rooms and whatnot? Because you had your generation, and you had the World of Sport generation, then I'd say there was your generation, then you had the FWA generation, then, it's gone on. But when do you think that was lost?
Probably about then. I would have thought about 96 time when the World of Sport guys started dropping away. And the big difference was, I'm not a shooter. I can give someone a slap across the chest, but I'm not a shooter or anything. And once those guys disappeared, you couldn't teach the respect, so you could maybe have a word with them or anything, but you usually give them a slap in the ring and give them a scurfing is the word they used to use, make them. But once Finley's had gone and Marty Jones had gone and things, and guys like me were the guys of that age group at that point in time, and then Johnny Storm came along and Jody came along and things, that's when it really, and the guys that not necessarily came from Hammerlock, but Johnny Storm would walk in and he'd be shouting things like X-Pac, and I remember seeing him for the first time. He was walking around a show shouting X-Pac and things like that, and it was kind of like, good God, if I'd have done that, I'd have got just murdered. When I did it, you couldn't admit you was a fan of wrestling. That was a big, massive no-no.
It was very strange, because Marty's mentioned this with me multiple times, and it's a case of, I think that's a completely bad mentality, and I remember it because in the tail end of the FWA when I was there was the same thing in regards to don't let the wrestlers know that you're a fan or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, well, if you're a footballer, do you not watch football, or do you not admit that you watch football matches, or and it was that mentality was so weird.
I guess it was a case of more or less marking out for that was the problem. And I know when Finley left WWE for the first time, about 2010 or whatever it was, and he was doing the independent shows over here, he said it was more like a meet and greet when he was in the changing room.
Oh, really?
And that, I guess that's the kind of thing that people, it's easy done. When I've done shows and Terry Funk's been there and things like that, I never ask for photographs, never. I know I've done shows back in the day with Sabu and Rob Van Dam and all this, and you would see guys going up for photographs and things, but I didn't. I was, to me, a wrestler like they are.
Now,
if that makes sense.
Now, I'm the same as you with that, and I don't know if I picked that up from the tail end of that FWA generation where it was frowned upon, but I was in a locker room, I remember, with Nature Boy Ric Flair, and I remember there was a queue backstage of the wrestlers wanting to go in and have a photo with him, and I wouldn't do it because I just remembered that, and maybe it's that stupid, that they're like, well, when are you going to have this opportunity again to say you were on the show? I can say I was on the show.
Yeah.
But, I understand it. You should never stop being a fan. There's no bigger wrestling fan than me, and you should never stop enjoying it. I don't know if there was that disconnect from me just from what I was taught back then. I don't know.
It's difficult when you're in the bubble. I used to really protect the job, and I wouldn't be seen to be taking pictures with people, not only on a social level. If it was a friend that I was having a laugh with or something like that. But now I'm not bothered. I'm out the bubble now, and you think completely differently. And I'm nearly 40 years old. I've got kids and things. God, I wish I'd taken pictures. I wish I'd have had pictures with Sabu and Van Dam and all these people that I'd met, and Misawa and all these guys. Not because, but at the time, I would have been seen as a mark, and it wouldn't have been for the other wrestlers. Just my own self-worth wouldn't have allowed me to go and ask. somebody who, to me, was on the same show as me, so I'm maybe not on their level, but I'm doing the same job as they're doing.
Yeah, I've done it. You might find this weird. I've done it since I've been back over here, and like just from people that I haven't seen in years, but have helped me a lot. Like I saw Jody and Johnny the other day, and like honest to God, without them, I don't think I'd have carried on being a British wrestler, because they made me believe that British wrestlers can get some notoriety and some popularity, and you know that was the match that made me into the little spot monkey in a leotard that I was back then. So they just it blew me away seeing them again. I was just so happy, and Johnny and Jody couldn't have been more complimentary and happy for me, which was so nice to hear, because I looked up to them as like legit British wrestling heroes. They were the only ones I knew,
Yeah.
It was along with Doug and Alex, and like that was just the coolest thing. And those, what Johnny's like, just like, how much merch you getting? Like, I was just so over the moon to see him the other day. It was really cool.
I think it's cool now. I think the facade of not being a fan and the facade of all the other things that have dropped away with kayfabe and things, I think the whole thing has gone now, and I think some of it for the better, and certainly from the respect kind of side of things, definitely for the worse in the UK anyway. I don't know about America because it's different, but in the UK, there seems to be no hierarchy anymore on the shows, and I think there should be.
I agree. But coming as somebody that didn't know anything about it and made the mistakes as well, like maybe they all don't know as well. That may be it. It's just a disconnect of communication, maybe.
Maybe so. Right, now, one thing you did get to do, which was my thing that the only real thing that I wanted to do when I started wrestling was to wrestle in Japan. I never did it. I managed to wrestle Misawa in a little hall in Scotland, which is about as close as I got, but you've been out to Japan. How was Japan?
Wonderful. Even better seeing Dean Allmark there, who I knew that always wanted to wrestle in Japan. And it was like seeing a kid in a candy store, mate. Bless Dean. And he went in there, and he didn't go in there and wrestle Japanese style, just like myself and EC3 didn't go in there and wrestle Japanese style. We went in there as us. Dean went in there and wrestled as Dean Allmark wrestles, as a British wrestler, and one of the best British wrestlers of his generation. And he tore it up, and everyone was so taken aback of what an amazing wrestler he was. And we just went in there and were just goofy heels to foil for Tajiri and Kodama. But Dean just looked so happy, and it was just so nice to see. And you just those are the things I remember about being in Japan. Like, I know that sounds weird, like, oh, what was it like with the crowds and everything like that. I was just me and just reacted with the crowd as I would. They paid to see Rockstar Spud, so I gave him Rockstar Spud. But it was just nice seeing a friend get something he's always wanted to do. And Dean's been trying to do that for good God, 15 years. And he got that opportunity, and that was so cool. It was really cool.
That was on the same show, was it?
On the same show, which was so like great at the same time, because I think the night before I asked Dean if he wanted to go out, but he was an hour outside of the town, so he wasn't able to, because it would have been a long way. And plus, I think that Dean was uber professional and wanted to really put in an amazing performance. That's not saying I wasn't, but that's also not saying that you didn't see me, EC3, Sonata, and Eddie Edwards out till 7 in the morning. So, you only live once, man. So
absolutely, and it's another thing that's been lost. Yeah, people. I couldn't believe, like, towards the back end of when I was finishing up, that people didn't want to go out. They wanted to go home, or they'd. I think the worst thing for me was I did a charity show years ago, and I had guys from everywhere, all over the country, that came down to work for free for the tsunami charity appeal.
Yeah.
And I remember Stevie Lynn and a couple of other guys, and they had like a portable DVD player, which is obviously quite cool then. Obviously things have moved on a little bit. But they were watching Ring of Honor DVDs in the changing rooms. And again, maybe that's normal now, but at the time I remember thinking, oh my God, why that's so embarrassing for you. I just thought that was...
I think now with the partying thing, trust me, there's a party scene and over here in the UK, I have stumbled across it many times and will continue to stumble into it again, whether I'm booked or not.
Quite by accident, yeah.
Yeah, quite by accident. Oh, just happened